One of the things I always tell authors too, because they're like, well, I don't know how to do PR. How can I possibly, promote my book? And I'm like, you know your audience better than anyone else, and you know what they want, and you know how they want to hear it.
That was Kathy Hester, and this is episode 91 of the Chopped Podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. Thanks for joining me today. I am your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. You know, this is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. So what are we doing here? Well, each week my goal is to share with you interviews, thoughts, stories, everything related to food blogging. So, we can all learn a little bit about what works with food blogging and maybe even a little bit about what doesn't. So this week's guest is Kathy Hester. She's of the site Healthy Slow Cooking, and we're talking about promotion because we are all about the art of promotion, right? Whether it's a blog post or a new book or even a campaign you're involved with for a brand, understanding and knowing promotion is important. So if you're like me and you think about promotion, you may be like, ew. It's not my favorite topic, to be completely honest, but I also know, it's something that we all have to conquer, right? I mean, I love this quote by Robert Louis Stevenson. Everybody lives by selling something. So this whole concept of promotion and selling, it goes together. And of course, it's something that, we need to learn more about. But if I could be completely honest, I would much rather follow that Kevin Costner model of, go out into the middle of a field in Iowa and build a baseball field and, let the people come. But I think that idea of build it and they will come, I don't know, maybe it works for cornfields in Iowa, but not so much for blogs, especially nowadays. So that's why I reached out to Kathy, because she is a guru at promotion. Not only has she built promotion campaigns around her own cookbooks, but she now builds them for other cookbook authors as well. And I heard her speak at the IACP conference in Los Angeles recently, and that's when I knew for sure I had to have Kathy come on the show, talk about promotion, and help us all, turn this concept from icky to fun. I don't know how she does it, but I don't know. Just listen for yourself and tell me if you don't agree that, you can actually even get a little pumped up about the idea of promotion after you listen to her talk. So I hope you love this discussion as much as I do. But first, let's talk Chop, because Chopped Conference is right around the corner. I can't believe it, and I'm so excited, and we only have a few tickets left, and I want you to get yours. I talked with someone recently who commented on all the great things they heard about Chopped. I love hearing that. I think it's a reflection of our commitment to community at Chopped. This year, we're going to have presentations on the live side of social media, talking about Snapchat, Facebook Live, and now Instagram stories. We're also going to be talking about adding video to your site and social media. And we're going to have presentations on being authentic in your blogging, of course. And there's also going to be magic, I promise. So what are you waiting for? Go to choppedcon.com, click on register, and buy your ticket today. Okay, let's get straight to today's feature interview with Kathy Hester. So put on those earbuds, turn up the volume, and let's talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I'm happy to have Kathy Hester of the site Healthy Slow Cooking on the show today. Hey Kathy, welcome to the Chopped Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Oh, thanks, Kathy. I'm excited to have you here because, we're going to talk about something that I am just so intrigued about, which is the concept of promotion campaigns, particularly as they impact cookbooks. But I thought it might be nice for everybody if you could kind of take a step back and tell everybody how it is that you started your food blog.
Okay, I wasn't ready for that one. I thought you were going a whole different way. But this is
sorry
perfect.
about that.
Oh no, I am open for any and all questions always. So I started my blog Healthy Slow Cooking because I really wanted to do a vegan slow cooker book, and I had waited a whole year and done nothing. So I started a blog so my friends could give me a hard time. And then 4 months into that, a publisher had actually been actively looking for a few months before I started my blog for someone to write a vegan slow cooker cookbook.
Wow. Talk about synchronicity.
Yeah, most of the things happened to me backwards.
You mean
And I'm
like
okay with it.
you get the cookbook deal and then you start the blog? Yeah, that's kind of backwards.
Pretty much. I think I had 2 months worth of posts or something.
Wow.
So I like probably had 10 recipes.
Wow, that is pretty amazing that you post 10 recipes and you got ding ding ding, will you do it? Will you do a cookbook for us?
Right. I think it was just the magical sub-subject
Yes.
of the sub-subject. And
Yes.
but it was really awesome seeing that. And I'm always willing to experiment with things, which is kind of how I've come to be an online PR person. So I don't have a background as far as a traditional PR person would. I don't do TV or newspapers or magazines. I really focus on online, and that's what I did for my very first book. So I didn't have any social media.
Wow.
Right. So I started my Facebook and all those things as soon as I had turned in the book and worked some different angles. And I came to find out that really everybody didn't do it that way. And my first book was really pretty successful.
Wow. And maybe you think it might have been successful because you didn't know the air quote right way to do it. You were just doing it in a way that felt, right to you.
I think so, but I also think that about everything I do. So is it true?
Yes.
I can't promise you that, but um, even now, like actually, right after then I was with Fairwinds Press, and their head person hired me to work with a couple of the other the other authors
Yeah.
to show them what I did and to try and see if we could get some similar results. And that person actually started his own publishing company and hired me to do his online PR when he did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So things just kind of seem to fall your way that way, huh?
I think so. I really like helping people, and that's the thing that's consistent across everything that I do. So with Healthy Slow Cooking, I'm helping people be able to eat healthier and cook at home, and just to show people it's just not that hard. If I can
Yeah.
do it, you can do it. And it's kind of the same thing with online promotions.
Now, I'm just curious about something. Did you go into starting your own blog thinking that you had this desire to, be a PR person?
Oh God, no. Oh no, no, no. And I've always been kind of the person that if I work somewhere, I was like, oh, that's the marketing department.
Bad.
Ew, marketing.
Gross. Yeah.
Yeah, consumerism or something. And 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 I had to change the way I thought. And even when I was doing the first book, I had to think, okay, I've written this book with some specific people in mind, like especially people transitioning to veganism.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody's grandfather who can't have cheese anymore, or he's going to have, a heart bypass or something. And so, how are these people going to find me if I don't put it out there? And so I looked at it from that standpoint instead of like, oh, yeah, I want to sell X number of books and this is how I'm going to calculatedly do this. It was more of like, since I work more from an emotion based place for myself, if I said, it's like wanting to save a stray dog. So I'm the one who's always like, come here, puppy. I think I have some
Yes.
crumbs in the car.
Yes.
And so, I always like say I'm the vegan next door and I will give you vegan cookies. And then you will come back for more.
Yeah.
And and so I think with PR and what I really try to install in my authors that I work with is that you wrote this feeling something strongly, because writing a book is not all the big fun and fame that people think it is. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And so to keep yourself going, you really are thinking of that person that you can help.
I see. So in other words, I kind of take it off of this checklist mentality, like write a cookbook, check, in other words, do I have a dessert in this book? Check. Do I have this in the book? Check. Get out of that mentality and really start thinking about the person who you intend to buy this book.
Correct. Because right now, it's not really the best of times to do like, I don't know, 10,000 vegan recipes. Everything's kind of specialized.
Ah, yeah.
Like even Jackie Saban's Vegan Bowl Attack.
Yes.
It's a vegan book, but it has another angle to it as well.
Right.
I just finished up the vegan Instant Pot book. So that's super specific.
I
And
see.
and I think that and so you have to have a reason. There's a reason Jackie likes bowls. There's a reason I like to use the Instant Pot.
Yes. Okay. Oh, so this is making sense. So I'm imagining the person that's sitting out there, they're listening to this, and maybe they either have a cookbook that they're like thinking about as an e-cookbook or a published cookbook. Do you see a difference between the two as far as a marketing strategy?
I think it depends on how you're selling your ebook. And actually, I was just at a conference, Blog Life University, where they were talking specifically about ebooks and had some great information that kind of I'm trying out a little bit. But it seems like with PDF ebook
Hmm.
cookbooks that you're selling off your site,
Yeah.
it seems to really an affiliate program is really what you need to get the word out. And so that way, I would come to you, Marley, and go, I have a vegan Halloween e-cookbook. Nobody else has one yet.
Right.
Would you be willing to sell it on your site? I'm willing to write a guest post for you. We can put a recipe up. What can I do to help you sell this? And in return, typically now people are giving 50%. So let's say I sell it for $8.99 and you get $4.50
Yeah.
magically every time a copy sells. So why would you not do it?
Right. That's a great strategy. In other words, if somebody writes an ebook cookbook and they just throw it up on their site without any program like that, they may not expect to see huge sales.
And you probably won't see any new people. Like your site's people will probably buy it, and there'll be a
Right.
percentage of that.
Yeah.
And I did a small version of that last year, and I actually even did a separate website in addition for my Halloween cookbook
Yeah.
because I want it to get in Google. And it's going to get really good traffic this year because it's something called an evergreen book, which means every year we have Halloween.
Right.
So no, a traditional publisher did not want to publish a Halloween book because they're only going to have sales once a
Every.
year.
Yes.
What do I care?
Right. Right.
It doesn't mean anything. I don't have to meet a certain sales quota to be able to keep promoting this book. And that's the good thing about ebooks. Ebooks can be smaller. You have complete control start to finish. And that is also what's hard about them. I've always kind of taken a more assertive role in my books. And so I'm the one who sends cookies and presents to the interns
Uh,
and oh, what if we did this?
yes.
So and since even if you do it, some people decide to do traditional publishing because they want someone else to do their PR for them.
Right.
And these days, that's just not practical. They
Right.
will have a PR team. They will send out a press release for you. And if you're lucky, someone will talk to you about some of the things you'll hear today.
Yes. But other than that, everything's on your shoulders.
Right. They're paying for the editing, they're paying for the printing. They may decide your recipe can't be called what it was called. So there, it's some give and take, and you're working with the team. And oftentimes they're right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
And it can be just that simple, but sometimes you know your audience better than they do.
I
And
see.
one of the things I always tell authors too, because they're like, well, I don't know how to do PR. How can I possibly, promote my book? And I'm like, you know your audience better than anyone else, and you know what they want, and you know how they want to hear it. Because you do. If you're a blogger,
Yeah.
that's how you blog. If you're a cooking teacher, you have a conversation with a student, that's how you would do it.
So you said something that kind of intrigued me. You were talking about, if you're doing your own ebook PDF version and you're doing an affiliate program, you're kind of guest posting other sites. It's interesting to think of this as a strategy to kind of help grow your traffic or, grow your audience of people who are paying attention to your site.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And at the conference that I was at, one woman is making $4,000 a month off of
Wow.
9 ebooks that she has. Now, she is a lifestyle person, and so it's not super duper specific. So I
Right.
think she's also really big in the potty training world.
There's a potty training world?
Evidently. Because and she actually sells through a lot of larger blogs than hers. Like I
Oh,
was telling you, kids' activities, Holly Homer's blog
yeah.
gets like 5 million hits a month. Having something up there, so then $2,000 or $3,000 from doing nothing,
Yeah.
and then she makes the money. The thing you have to really think about when you're doing an ebook is where your talents lie and where they don't lie. Because if we're talking food books here, so there has to be images.
Images.
People are expecting image per recipe in regular books, and you better believe it, they're going to want it in a PDF.
Right. Okay.
You're going to have to design a cover or get someone to design a cover for you.
Okay.
You may have to have someone lay out the book for you, choose the fonts, the colors, and there's an editing that's needed in addition to writing the book.
Oh, right.
And then if you're doing an affiliate program, then someone needs to make sidebar ads and things like that. I sent out a whole kit. Here's 5 different size ads. Here this is with your affiliate link. And I think it helped because what you want to do, and I'm sorry, my dogs are probably going to
That's
bark.
is the
I'm trying
UPS
to
man
run
coming. That's
away.
usually when mine bark.
Well, that's why I'm looking. I'm like, no, I think he's trying to get a chipmunk. Um,
Chipmunks and UPS guys, they get them every time.
I know it's like the shame of having non-vegan animals. Uh,
Yes.
okay, but any PR, including if you're doing a PDF book, you have to make it easy for people to do what you want them to do.
I see. I get that. Okay. So you want them to share about your ebook and giving them 5 options of different graphics. That is the perfect way to do that.
Right. And so even when you're sending out a press release, a traditional PR person is not going to put a link to buy the book.
Yes. Now, in your press releases, do you put a link to buy the book?
Yeah, I always put a link in to buy the book. So, and I also make sure that I tell people to put their affiliate links in. If they're not doing a PDF book, let's say you're on my traditional blog tour, well, I can't give you any money. People make very little money per book when they traditionally publish,
Okay.
like ridiculously amount, like maybe $1,
Per book?
$2, possibly, yeah, but more typically $1.
Yeah, that's not. I was thinking about all the work that you put in to make that book happen. I mean, you can imagine, I guess. Can I ask this question? What is an average amount of sales on a typical cookbook?
Okay, I would believe it's somewhere between 1,500 and 5,000 books is what you're typically expecting. Like, oddly enough, so I know that the vegan slow cooker sold over 50,000 copies.
Wow.
I've had other books that have, sold like 10,000 copies. So, and you can't really tell to begin with.
Right.
And whereas you can do stuff to get the word out, and that's always going to help.
Yeah, of course.
But, a traditionally published cookbook is probably not going to make you rich. Now, I'll say that, and then somebody's book is going to sell 1 billion copies.
Right, of course. But
And that's
Kathy, I just
great.
I just revel at this. You come in right out of the gates. You barely had your blog started. Somebody comes at you with a a recipe idea, and you sell a book idea, and you sell 50,000 copies of that book. You had to be like, hello, I'm in the right. I found my spot.
It definitely was very nice. And
Yeah.
everything was an experiment. And I like
Yes.
to experiment even in the kitchen. So again, that's kind of how some of the online PR stuff happened. I get a coupon. This was a number of years ago. So I got a coupon for Google Ads. $50 Facebook ad. There was a vegan ad network that lasted like 6 months. I got 3 months on it free. Anything I saw free, I would take my time to make something for and just try it. And if it didn't work, I didn't lose any money.
Oh, see, I love this about you because, I have gotten some of those things too, like $50 free on Google Ads, and I don't know what to do with it, and then I sit on it, and then I don't do anything with it. And so I love that you have this experimenter mindset, which is awesome.
Exactly, because there's actually a video on Facebook right now that's I posted to my personal page. I'll try and post it to Healthy Slow Cooking on the Facebook page.
Okay.
But it actually is about a woman whose father used to like have everybody sit around the dining room table, and
I saw
instead of saying,
that.
"What happened today? What did you fail at today?" Well, I failed at that. That's awesome. You learned so much stuff by doing
And he was
that.
like disappointed if they didn't fail at something, right?
Exactly. And kind of my philosophy on life is you can't succeed unless you're willing to fail.
Oh, yes.
And I think that sometimes, and it's okay, it's okay if I only got 5 clicks out of 50,000 on Google because it didn't matter. And now we can do a $5 Facebook ad. You
Right.
can lose $5 to be wrong.
That is such a great quote. You can lose $5. Say that again.
You can lose $5 to be wrong.
Yes. That's right.
But
Because you're trying something different.
right. And with that, you'll learn something that maybe the next $5 will really work for you.
See, I like this actually. I mean, it's very interesting stuff because I'm just now experimenting with Facebook ads, and you can put a little bit of pressure on yourself, and you want to, I mean, throw your hands in the air and go, I can't do this, it's too hard. But I just kept telling myself, just try it and see what happens. And like you say, the next time you do it, it's going to be easier.
Well, and as a blogger, we tend to kind of tribe up a little bit. So
Yeah.
if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my God, I can barely use Facebook, much less know what an ad is, because that was all of us at one point.
Yes.
Um, ask your friends. Have any of them done a Facebook ad? How did they do it? Could they help you do the first one? Is there something you know how to do that they don't? Maybe
That's
you guys
great.
can make a trade.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
that's a good idea.
yeah, because it's okay to ask things and not know. I mean, as long as you're not imposing yourself, like, I want you to do a Facebook ad for me. Like, if I'm asking
Yeah.
somebody to do something for me, like, I do have a friend who actually is a Facebook ad expert, and I got her to give me a little mini series that I could only hold so much of. And so then I was like, can I hire you just to make one ad for me? Or is there something else I can give you
Yes.
besides money that would make it more worth your while? Like,
Like I make some awesome cookies. Is that what you're thinking?
right. Well, I'm thinking she's an author, so like if I could do some sort of little promotion for her, something
Yes.
exchange,
Yes.
I'd be happy to. And it would just depend on, somebody knows how to use WordPress plugins and somebody else doesn't.
Right.
So, but don't be afraid to ask if you're giving something back or at least sharing their Facebook posts.
Yes. I love it. So, okay, I'm hearing this kind of a strategy that came through on ebooks, and I think that's wonderful. Like, making sure that you're doing press releases, and those are probably easy to find templates online on how to do a press release, right?
There are, and I will tell you right now that I consider myself more of a blogger cookbook author than I do a PR writer.
Mm-hmm.
I write things very personal.
Mm.
If I'm inviting you to do something, I'm like, hey guys, sorry I'm doing the mass email because I'm me and they know me. Versus a PR person who's sending something out to 3,000 people.
And they're going to make it sound very professional.
Right. And it's not, I think it's helpful for people who are doing traditional PR and the people who are used to receiving it. But if you're talking to other bloggers, I think you need to talk like a person. You need to know something about them,
Yeah.
especially like, for instance, if I wanted to really get you to do my Halloween ebook, the first thing I would do is go to your site and see if you have any Halloween recipes.
Oh, yeah.
And go, hey, here's a couple of things you could put there, and you wouldn't even have to do any work. And
Oh,
if
yes.
then you can make $4.50 every time somebody buys it from your site.
Right.
Whereas if I was talking, and see, even the traditional PR people that I know, like Grant Butler at the Oregonian, I know him because he's interviewed me as a cookbook author.
Oh, yeah?
So I would talk to him like a normal person instead, instead of being all like, I am obviously not a very formal person. I don't have a lot of airs. And so, like, writing an email without a contraction just makes me feel kind of sick to my stomach.
I love
Now,
that.
right, with that said, if whoever's listening would never write a contraction,
Yes.
don't write a contraction.
Yes, I see.
And they could probably go back and listen to some of your authenticity podcasts
Yes.
and know how to present that information.
Yes.
But the point is that don't be quiet about it. And here's the weirdest thing that bloggers, cookbook authors do. They don't want to post on their social media about it.
I know. What is up with it? Is that because it's self-promotion?
It's because people feel that it's self-promotion. But what I found, again, by experimenting, is it's the craziest thing. My people love it. Like, if, I actually posted to Facebook and Twitter because my cover came out for my book on Amazon. So I did a big post, and that's usually when I do my initial, hey, you can pre-order my book. But I did it earlier without a cover just to see what would happen this time.
Uh-huh.
And I know, at least through my affiliate link, I think 33 books have already been pre-ordered.
Wow.
Which is not huge, but those numbers of pre-ordered books, and that would be hardcover books especially, or paperbacks, but hold in your hand books, that will up how much Amazon orders. How much Amazon orders will up how much your printer prints.
I see.
And
So
it
it's
just,
like all a cycle.
exactly. So traditionally, publishers don't like to do a lot of promotion months before.
But if they see you're getting a lot of pre-orders?
But they love to see you get a lot of pre-orders.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
so when I was working with Page Street, they started seeing the benefit of pre-orders, because also if you get enough pre-orders, you become one of Amazon's books of the month. So your book cover is a few different places.
Yes.
And that just increases the odds that people are going to see you and stumble onto it.
Ah, that's really cool. Now, speaking of Amazon, when somebody's publishing an ebook, do you recommend that they publish it on their site as a PDF, or should they go like the Amazon route?
That's something I'm kind of working on now. I did a couple of ebooks under pseudonyms to make a couple of tests.
Yes.
And they're still kind of in process. But even kind of dumpy ones, like I actually put one up that has no pictures, and it has 10 recipes, and it's like 99 cents under a name that no one knows.
Okay.
And it still sells a couple every month.
Interesting.
But see, as being a traditional author, or even if you have ebooks on Amazon, you get an Amazon author page. You have to go and make it yourself, which if you don't, I'm going to come over and have a talk with you. Because it is unacceptable, because that's another PR. So my 6th book is publishing in January. So if someone clicks on any of those books and goes to mine, they're going to see all of them. And now, if I turn the Halloween ebook into a Kindle book, they would also see that there too.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your Halloween book, because I actually think what you did with that was really pretty brilliant. I mean, you started your own page, right? That was basically vegan Halloween recipes.
I think it's veganhalloweencookbook.com. And I guess I should check before I'm saying that out loud. But
no, you rank pretty high. If somebody searches for vegan Halloween recipes, you're pretty high, right?
I hope so. I haven't checked it. I haven't checked it in a little while, because and the reason that book is on my mind is that now's the time for me to start promoting it for Halloween.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and again, I think the earlier you do things, the less stressed out you are.
Yes.
Is it nice to see all kinds of wonderful numbers the day you release? Sure, but pre-orders are counted as that. They're not counted as real numbers until they actually are shipped and sold and paid for.
Right. Say that again. I think I missed that. Say that again.
Sure. So some people think, okay, well, if it's like there'll be a ranking, and the ranking is per hour on Amazon.
Okay.
And so let's say I want day one of my book being released, I want to be like number 10 in vegan slow cooker mushroom books. There are more subcategories than you can imagine. So some authors have thought, well, then what I want to do is just have like 100 people post that day, and I want to get all of the sales then.
Yeah.
Well, when you get pre-orders, the people aren't charged for them, so they don't count as actual sales yet.
Oh, right. Okay.
So when the book's shipping, so that means it's going to count all the orders that actually were made on that day, plus any of the ones before that date.
I see.
So it will still help your ranking.
I see.
And I think it's really important to promoting early is better than promoting later. And you can come up with more than one way and one picture to show your Facebook audience.
I see. Get maybe different recipes from the book and those pictures.
Yeah, you could do just if you have a traditional publisher, you have to talk with them and make a plan a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's say for right now, it's just our book. I decided, I think there's 25 recipes in my Halloween book, and I think I put out 4 or 5 of them.
Uh-huh.
And those are the ones, if I put posts on someone's site, I use those.
Okay.
I do a different introduction. I was putting out pictures with those 5, but some of those were going to come as I promoted everybody else's post about the book, right?
Right.
Because that's my job as an author too. If I send you a way to put on your site to be part of my affiliate program, I do a post for you. I'm hoping you will put that post out there too, but it is also my job to put that post out there
I see.
and to share it on Pinterest and
right.
Facebook and Twitter.
Yes.
And if we're both doing it, that's great for both of us.
Exactly. Okay. That makes sense.
Because your affiliate link is still going to be in there.
But now you say when you're working with an author, sometimes you find they don't do that themselves. And I think that touches on the topic of self-promotion, and just curious if you have feedback for why that's so hard.
Most of the time people think, oh, my audience are going to get mad at me. They don't want to hear this all the time.
Yeah.
And what they don't want to hear is the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
They don't mind seeing a picture of vegan soy yogurt, then the next day rutabaga something or other, and then a stew. And if it's your book and your photos, you can put photos out for all of it. That does not ruin the sales of your book.
Right.
And I would do it on social media. I wouldn't put a collage of 25, but put something new up every week, or mention something different. Or maybe, like for me, we're actually putting up some more kind of Halloween party and decorating blog posts.
Yes.
To also kind of get people in that way.
That's so smart.
Right. And I think the thing is just like when you're doing a blog or you're writing or you're trying to do a recipe, we're always thinking outside the box or bigger, right?
Yeah.
You've got to think bigger. And I always tell people, who would be your 5 dream people to have this on their site? And let's email them. Because you know what? The worst thing that happens, we never hear from them.
Right.
And I decided with my first book, I had to get quotes, and I didn't know anyone then. As far as quotes for the book jacket, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just, emailing these authors I don't know, which worked out kind of okay. And then I decided I want Kathy Fruston to give me a quote.
Oh my God, that'd be
and they're
great.
like, that's great. And I'm like, you have her email? I'm like, no. But I called the publisher, got to a person who passed off an email to her assistant that I got to talk to, and she gave me a quote.
Isn't that amazing? Now, do you ever give somebody a quote? Here's an example of what you could say.
What's really funny is someone just asked me to do that this week. Yeah, because she's really, really busy. And so I'm like, oh, I hate this.
Yes.
But I was thinking maybe I could make it like a Mad Lib. Serious, and this is for real.
I want to get back to this, what you were talking about, just I think, who would I want to get a quote for my jacket from? And could we go back to that, video you're talking about on Facebook? Because like you say, the worst thing that could happen is they don't respond to your email. I can't imagine if you decided you were going to do an ebook. Let's say there's somebody in the audience that wants to do an ebook and they wanted to do an affiliate and they reach out to some different people or they wanted to get a jacket quote. It's not like somebody's going to respond and say, "I hate you. You're the worst person in the world. Why did you write me?" They're never going to say that. They just probably won't respond.
Well, and I tell everybody, and especially my authors and myself. So, see, I'm starting to get promotion mindset. So, what I say to myself every day, people can't say yes if you don't ask them.
Yeah.
So you're actually, and this, especially I think sometimes with the female mentality,
Yep.
which is, oh, I shouldn't speak too loud. Oh, I shouldn't toot my own horn. But the thing is this works perfectly into that,
Yeah.
which is that you are not giving someone else an opportunity to do something they might want to do.
Yes.
And my brain is messed up enough that I have to do these little tricks.
I love that. And also I just think, you know what, if we're doing this, if we're going to do this, we're going to do the book, we're going to have the blog, let's just do it. Let's own it, Why not?
Right. And what's so funny is people are so ridiculously supportive of us as bloggers. I mean, yes, there are people who have nothing better to do than to say something crappy.
Yep.
But there's such a small percentage.
Yeah.
Like I said, I put up the book cover, and oh my gosh, I think in like an hour, like 8 people have shared it, and like 47 people have liked it, and people are saying nice things. And so it's a win-win. They get to know about the book. They're my friends or my fans or both. And they get to support me. I'm giving them the opportunity. I'm not making them. I can put it up there and not hear anything, and I'm not going to feel bad.
Right.
But if I hear a lot, it's really hard not to feel extra good.
Yeah. And then doesn't it just make what you're doing so much more fun?
It does. Some of the people, like even some of my testers have been with me for like 6 years now.
Wow.
And so some people have been around a long time and have been very supportive, and they like what I do and how I try to do it.
Okay, let's talk about testers for a minute. How do you handle the testers? Do you just ask if they're willing to help you test recipes? Do you give them supplies or anything?
I do not, because I'm working with smaller publishers and I just don't have the extra funds.
Right.
What I do is if they test a good amount of recipes or an agreed amount recipes, they go into the acknowledgments.
I see.
One of the things I also do, if I get an idea from them, I put it in the book with their name.
Oh,
I credit, so I'll credit them in the head notes.
Of the recipe itself. So-and-so suggested that, I should add, cardamom, and it was a great suggestion, and something like that.
Yeah. And sometimes if it's just something generic, a few people decide, I might just say my testers, but I see it as being kind of a group effort. And different people do things different ways. Since I am kind of a fly by your seat of the pants kind of gal, I gave up pretty much immediately thinking people were actually going to follow just my recipe. So some people are like, follow my recipe or don't test for me. And I'm like, well, the thing is I'm also doing things like gluten-free options, soy-free options, oil-free options. So I like to have a lot of options. So if I have an oil-free tester, of course I don't want them to use the oil. But all I require from them is to tell me what you did differently, exactly what you used, and how much.
Right.
So that way, if it fails for them, if they're doing experimenting on their own, I can say, make sure not to do this.
Yes, exactly.
And if it succeeds, I can go, look, you can totally do this and have it be oil-free too.
Right. Okay, I got you. That's good.
And I use actually a private blog where people can log in because I like the testers to talk to one another. And it's helpful for me because no matter how much I look at this manuscript, something's going to slip through.
Right.
And so when someone emails me and says, this did X, the first thing I'm going to do is go to that tester page and see what they had to say. Is there anything that matches this? And then go from there. So it gives me like a little bit of starting point without having to try and make the recipe 6 times and still not have the problem occur.
You sound like you say these words like, I fly by the seat of my pants, but that sounds very organized.
I have a method to my madness that I
Okay.
do. And everybody does testers differently. What I usually do now is often I'll put on my Facebook page that I'm adding some new testers. The very first thing I do is invite my old testers,
Okay.
because they know me. They, sometimes when I'm in the middle of the book or nearing a deadline, they already know the stupid things I do. And they usually catch them before I can. And before they even make the recipe, they'll be like, look, I think there should be olives in this since there's olives in the title. What do you think?
Yeah.
Because I'll be crazy and I'll remember I wrote olives, so therefore it must be there.
Right. Exactly.
Um, but I actually use them for my ebook as well. And so I consider them to be a huge part of what I do.
So did you just reach out? Maybe you said this already and I missed it. Did you just reach out on your Facebook page and ask for volunteers?
I've done that. Now, it was so long ago when
Yeah.
I did the vegan slow cooker,
Yeah.
because I think it was like 2009 or 2010. So what I did then is I was actually on some Yahoo vegan and vegetarian slow cooker groups.
Uh-huh.
And I just said, hey, is anyone interested in testing for my cookbook?
Okay. But Facebook would not be a bad idea if you had a Facebook page, right?
Right. You might have a cutoff. And one thing, and maybe this is for another show that we can talk about how some of those things happen. I usually have phases of testers, like somebody's going to drop out because of A, B, or C.
Yes.
And so I usually get in a couple of different waves,
Okay.
and that's also can be helpful. But to not have, I feel like I have really great testers and they test as much as they can. I don't say they have to test every recipe, but what I do is some people will actually assign recipes to certain testers. And what I do is then I just make a general email call out that, hey, this poor little corn recipe needs a little love. Can somebody love on it?
Oh, nice.
And and in general, people will then go make it. In the past, if it's a recipe that no one wants to make,
Yes.
to even test it, I'm like,
That may not be a winner.
okay, yeah, maybe this shouldn't go in the book. I had a Persian dish that was like tempeh and pomegranate,
Uh-huh.
and it's a real dish.
Yeah.
And they did not want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
So that's a form of information as well, right?
Right, because a lot of these people now, they read my blog, they make my recipes there. They're my audience
Yeah.
too.
Right. So that's a form of feedback. I love that. That's really great.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I think it's good to have that kind of relationship with your testers. Um, and one of the things too is like when you're talking, it kind of comes with testers and going ahead and talking about your book on Facebook and Twitter and letting people know, and then saying all the exciting little things along the way. Like if you haven't made your book yet, take pictures of you testing recipes. They're going to love it. They're there with you through the process. Everybody wants to know how to make a cookbook.
That's cool. You mean even people who are not a food blogger?
Oh, yeah. And almost always, like if I put something on Instagram,
Uh-huh.
it's not my other food bloggers.
Wow, that's so cool.
Because they're like, oh, how cool. And one of the things I'm trying to teach myself to do is to Instagram things that I'm going to put in the blog later.
Yes.
And it gets such a good response because people are excited. They're like, oh my God, I saw that. And now I want to know what it is.
Oh, that's great.
And people want that personal connection. And that's one of the things that we're able to give people on Facebook. I'm able to say, hey, I turned in my manuscript today. Hey, I turned in those photos today.
Yes.
Again, I am 10,005 under, I don't know, spaghetti, under cookbooks,
Yes.
under whatever. And I take a screenshot of that. And people care about me and they care about the book and they're invested in the whole thing.
And
And
that is
yeah,
such a smart idea just to keep people, you're letting people know, look, I'm 30% done with the book. I'm so excited today. I just, shot this recipe or whatever. That's so smart.
right. And so you're not just beating them over the head like you're afraid you're going to. You're
Yeah.
actually including them in your journey.
And the next thing you know, they're excited. They were like, well, I want to see that book when it's out.
Right. And they are the people who are going to be your cheerleaders through the whole process. One of the reasons the vegan slow cooker sold so well from the people I heard from,
Uh-huh.
they didn't just buy a copy for themselves. They bought a copy for themselves. They bought a copy for their friend. They bought a copy for somebody else.
That's
And
amazing.
so, yeah, people are going to buy more than one copy when they're that invested.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah, and I didn't do it to create that. It's just that's the observation that I made.
Yes.
And as being on the other side, I mean, think about it when some of your favorite authors that you follow on Facebook, don't you love kind of feeling like you're in the know?
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. I completely agree. Like I've always I followed 101 cookbooks before I even knew what a blog was. I didn't know I was following a blog. I just thought she was publishing recipes and anyway, I don't know. But I get her emails and she'll talk about the latest cookbook she's working on and I just love it. Yes, you're right. It does make me feel like I'm part of the process.
Yeah, and I think that's really good because it really is. If it's an ebook or a traditionally published book, it's not just you that's selling the book. It's everyone who roots for you, everyone who
Right.
reads you, everyone who follows you.
I think that's so good. And I think sometimes, for myself, it's easy to suffer from what I consider to be like perfectionist syndrome. Like, I don't want to put it out there unless it's all done. But you're right. Like, sharing the process just makes everybody feel a part of it. I love it. That's great.
And people love that you're not always right. People love that you make
I know.
mistakes too. And not in a mean way, because I will
No.
totally, I'm the worst. Like if someone's like interviewing me about a cookbook and they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, you didn't have any failures. I'm like, oh yeah, let me tell you about this one. This was the stupidest thing I ever did. And and no one thinks it doesn't take away from your expertise. It just makes you a person like everyone else.
Yes.
And and as a cookbook author and a blogger, I want people to see that, even if you make something and it's not like 5-star drop dead amazing, it's still better than the spaghetti and the jarred sauce you would have eaten.
Right. That's right.
And so we kind of have to have these levels because I think sometimes, with that whole like Facebook persona,
Yeah.
all my kids never cry, my animals never do anything bad.
My hair is always perfect. Yes.
Exactly. And no one's trying to do that. But I think sometimes then we're like, oh, wow, I'm the only one who's not perfect.
I know.
And it's
Yeah.
like, nobody's perfect.
Right. We all have bad days. Yes, I see what you're saying. That's very good. Be human.
Right. And even with your book, let's say, so like the Vegan Slow Cooker, I love that book. And I wrote a chapter in there because all slow cookers are different. Okay.
Oh, right. Yes, yes, yes.
And I didn't make the slow cookers, and I can't make the slow cookers. And
Yes.
some of them are old slow cookers that are actually cook slower at lower temperatures than newer ones.
And you may
So I
have
can't,
inherited one from your grandmother and it's really old or whatever, right? But they
right. And
last
so
forever, don't they? I mean, they seem to last forever.
they really do. And it's not that one's good and one's bad.
Right.
But if I always tell people to make kind of a tester one. If it looks like there's extra liquid in there, you have one that runs lower, and you probably will want to like take a half a cup of liquid out of every recipe except for soups.
Yeah.
Same thing, if it almost burned, you're going to have to add an extra half cup of water.
Right.
And some people will be able to make them exactly how they're made.
Yes.
And and I had 30 different slow cookers.
Oh my
And they
gosh.
did not cook the same. And I had testers with different slow cookers. But so because people don't tend to read the front matter, I got a lot, and you can see it on my Amazon reviews. These recipes weren't tested. Everything was watery. These
Oh,
recipes weren't tested. My stuff burned.
oh,
And actually, it was my fans that went back and replied and said, "You need to read the chapter on blah."
oh, right.
But because people are having so much trouble understanding that difference, I I think one of the things that helped me be successful, I searched for my book on Twitter, any Twitter feed,
Uh-huh.
and I would go deep, deep, deep. I do this also on Google, see if anybody posted anything about it. And when someone had a fail, I emailed them and I said, I would love to help you troubleshoot this.
Wow.
And it took a lot of time and a lot of work, but there's actually a social media professional who had trouble, And I contacted her and we talked through it and we realized that she has an older slow cooker.
Uh-huh.
And of course I left with like, well, email me when you're making something else or if you get another one and let's talk about it. And we're actually friends now because
Oh,
it came through my feed one day. Um, do you promote yourself like Kathy Hester? And I was like, what the heck? What is
she
this
used you as an
about?
example. I love
Right.
it.
And I thought, this is totally spam, but I'm going to go look. And she was actually saying, because she had a bad opinion because that recipe failed. But when I contacted her, she's actually been a huge supporter to all my books.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I didn't do it to create
Right,
that,
right.
but because I didn't, I knew I wrote that book because I wanted people to be able to come home to dinners. I wanted them to make their lives easier. I wanted to go ahead and do that extra step to make sure things could be that easy.
I like that because it's so easy just to sit back and go, not my problem. You probably did something wrong, but you followed through. You contacted her. Wow, that's really smart.
Yeah, and I do that quite a bit. If people won't contact me back, I don't worry about it. I just
Right.
let it go. If, but and the same thing. I mean, we all have somebody contact us on the blog that something didn't work or they just
Yes.
didn't like something.
Right.
And if you don't like it, like in one of my books, there's a pumpkin caramel sauce,
Yes.
and
Sounds
it's
good.
made with pumpkin, and
Yeah.
it has spices in it, right? So it's
Uh-huh.
not like coconut caramel that has pumpkin pie spices in it.
Right.
And so I'm troubleshooting with this woman. She's like, I don't think it's right. And I'm like, I don't know how to say this nice, but realize I'm not being sarcastic. But I think you may just not like pumpkin. And I'm pretty sure because pumpkin has a distinct flavor
It
that nobody
does.
knows,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't ever taste the pumpkin.
Right.
And sometimes you have to be, that bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not going to like everything I
Oh,
like.
right. It's just difference in taste buds or whatever.
Yeah. But I think it's just most important. Remember what that mission is. What drove you to spend months writing and testing and writing out all this head notes and information about whatever it is, and
Yeah.
let that keep you going past when the book was published, because you still get to advocate for your cause.
I love that. Kathy, that's so great. So do you have anything, or like, what's coming up next for you? I know that you're working on another book, right?
Yes, I am. And it comes out in January, and I didn't name it. But
Okay.
it's called The Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for Your Instant Pot.
I love it.
It seems a little, I don't know, a little showy to me, but I think it's going to be an awesome book, and I'm super excited because it's the first one that I've done my own photography in.
Oh, that's really cool. And that's going to be, I can't wait to see that. When is it's coming out in January?
It's coming out in January, and it is available for pre-order now on Amazon. And here I'm going to show you what you should be doing, fellow cookbook authors. And the reason you should pre-order it is because if you order it right now, the prices dip up and down all along. So if you order it
Oh,
now, you will get the lowest price between now and when the book comes out, even if it was just for 5 seconds.
wow.
So
That's cool.
I've gotten books for less than half price by pre-ordering them. So
I
see,
see.
I'm doing you a service and I got to advertise
So
myself.
you're saying if you pre-order, you get the book for the lowest price as it, like, for example, if it goes down, let's say if it's a $20 book and it goes down to $10 during the pre-order period, that's what the price you get it for?
Yes.
Ah, how cool is that?
And it does that with movies too. Actually,
Ah,
that's how Cheryl orders all her movies now. She pre-orders anything because she gets it so much cheaper.
I love that.
And this is on Amazon specifically. I think Barnes and Noble does something similar, but
Okay.
you might want to check into it. I know Amazon for sure does.
Okay, Kathy, I have just a few fun, quick questions I'd like to ask everybody at the end of the interview. So, what's one food item you can't live without?
Nutritional yeast.
That's a new one. Explain that. Tell everybody what that is and how you use it.
It is vegan cheesy goodness.
Yes.
So it actually has a lot of B vitamins, and it looks just kind of like this weird powder, but
Uh-huh.
it mix it with some cashews and a little
Oh,
milk. You've got mac and cheese.
yes.
Actually just put some in soups, just as
Mm,
far as like as doing a bouillon.
yes.
But to me, it kind of makes things kind of richer. So it can take the place of what chicken broth used to, as well as making anything cheesy,
Yeah,
flavored cheesy.
that's awesome on
Cauliflower,
popcorn.
yeah, cauliflower with nutritional yeast, a
Oh,
little bit of cashews makes a perfect Alfredo sauce. You can even leave out the cashews and make it fat free.
yes. Oh, you're
Now
making me
it's
hungry.
and my second favorite food would be cauliflower though, because it's magic too. They're both magic.
I know. It's like you can turn cauliflower into a cream sauce. You can turn it into rice. I use it in like my taco meat. I put taco flavoring on like cauliflower rice. Oh, it's so good. I love it.
It's amazing.
It is. Okay, what's the favorite app on your phone?
Ugh. I'm like,
Uh-oh.
do I have one?
Do you have an app on your
I guess
phone?
I've got tons of apps on my
Okay.
phone. They all make me angry.
I see
But
none of them make you happy.
I think probably Instagram because I am trying to Instagram more. And I
Okay.
am geeky poet on Instagram because I'm a brilliant brander. And
I
I'm
love
being
it.
very, very sarcastic. Um, so on Twitter and Instagram, those were two platforms I was never going to use for my business.
I see. And then of course you had to, and so there you go.
Right.
Okay, so do you have any time for TV at all? And if you do you have a favorite show?
Oh, yeah, I watch TV. We watch too much TV.
I hear that.
But we love Doctor Who.
Oh, I could see you watching Doctor Who.
But Orphan Black is pretty. I like things that are kind of weird and slightly creepy, but not disturbing,
Yes.
that are puzzles.
Okay.
So almost any show that would fit that, I would still be madly in love with.
I love it. Okay, that's good. Okay, so how can people find you online? You just mentioned a geeky poet.
Yeah, they can find me at healthyslowcooking.com. I have a little bit of photography portfolio up right now at kathyhester.com. That should turn into an online PR marketing site too, hopefully before the year's over.
And that would be a place where, like, let's say they were interested in working with you on their own cookbook promotion. They could talk to you about that there.
Correct. And I even do things as far as existing cookbook authors that maybe are never did social media. So I
Yeah.
do kind of some remedial social media one-on-ones to running blog tours to just having maybe an hour conversation and listing off the 800 things that you should have on your to-do list.
Wonderful. Kathy, thank you so much. I had a great time talking with you today.
It was awesome. It's always good to talk to you, Marley.
Thanks so much to Kathy Hester for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. Be sure to go to choppedpodcast.com to buy your tickets to the conference, learn more about today's show, and you can sign up for our newsletter to get the latest on all things food blogging. Tune in next week as I talk with Trevor and Jennifer Depth of the site Show Me the Yummy and the Blog Village. We're talking about building your blog village because it takes a village. Be sure to tune in next week. Hey, I'm so thrilled to get your emails and reviews about the Chopped Podcast. It really means the world to me, and it really helps the show out a lot. So please continue leaving those reviews on iTunes and Stitcher and Facebook and Twitter and emails, all of the above. You inspire me, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to the work you're doing every day. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.